Yo, listen up, it's time for a tale about a podcast that'll leave you frail. Hard way wrestling coming at you raw, bringing the heat, breaking every law. They drop the truth, no holds barred, talking smack, getting you hyped up hard, calling out the fakes, exposing the lies. Hard way wrestling taken by surprise. Hard way wrestling coming to your city. Nothing but realness, nothing but grit. Going down the gauntlet, making them all. Hard way wrestling, straight from the heart.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hard Way Wrestling. It is Wednesday, and it is the NXT Takedown. We are here. Actually, it's the Shakedown. Excuse me, NXT Shakedown. I am sorry. I am a little off kilter today, ladies and gentlemen. We are doing this a little differently today on Hard Way because our usual producer is not here today, so it is just myself. I am Scotty Too Hottie, and my co-host Wyatt Spivey on the other line with me. We are going to do a review here of NXT, the NXT show they did last night, and we're going to talk about that and kind of give our impressions of it, kind of talk a little bit about Battleground as it's coming up and the things that are going on. But first, very quickly, just want to make sure y'all guys know Hard Way Wrestling, we are a subscriber and fan-based program here. We want you guys to come in and join us, have fun, watch us, let us know what you think. If you think I'm ugly and want to cuss me out, go ahead and do that. If you want to tell me how much you love me, go ahead and do that too. But like and subscribe on our channel on Hard Way Wrestling, and follow us on Facebook. We're on all the podcast platforms. So just take a look at that. If you don't want to listen to it or watch us on video, you can listen to us on the podcast platforms. Also, our Patreon, $5 a month, gets you in that door. You can get a hold of the Prediction Challenge, where we have our own version of fantasy football. It's fantasy wrestling, choosing the winners, getting points, and hopefully getting the chance to dethrone the current champion, that is Jason right now. So yeah, $5 a month gets you in that door. It's like a busted drum. You can't beat that deal. But on to NXT last night.
Anyway, with that spiel from that dude. Last night was an entertaining night, within reason. A lot of stuff happening, obviously setting up for Battleground happening next weekend. I believe next Saturday.
Yep, next Saturday.
So it started off with obviously a promo from Miles Bourne and the NQCC.
Yep.
This promo was a good way, obviously, to get the Heat ready for being, just recently crowned #1 in the Battle Royale, to battle Femi next week at Battleground. During the promo, though, the one thing that I did like about this, with his thing, he obviously mentioned that he is partially deaf.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I took away from it is the quote that he put into it saying, "I want to be judged by my ability, not his disability."
Exactly. And again, I thought that was a really cool thing. And honestly, as far as I am aware, unless there were other wrestlers who were deaf and we didn't know about it, he's the first deaf wrestler, majority deaf wrestler that we've ever had in this company or in wrestling in general. So, mm-hmm. Which I think is great to see somebody with that disability overcoming it and, getting a shot at the world title like that. So
100%. And I think with this, even though he has, the thing of the kind of the same moveset as Randy, I think he'll make his own at some point.
Oh yeah. No, I think, yes, he's being compared to Randy Orton, which is a lot of a good thing because, again, you want to be compared to the greats, but at the same time, with him currently right now, he will establish himself and start to pull away and be his own person at some point, and start to in my view, I wouldn't say necessarily eclipse Randy Orton. What's the term I'm looking for? Like to
he'll
make
be on the same pedestal, I think.
Yeah, to make his own name for himself. So, which I think is going to be amazing. But to be compared to Randy Orton is not a bad thing in this industry.
Oh heck no. It's better to be compared to that than somebody else, and that's not good enough. Um, Obviously this was cut short. Ethan Page walked out. Um, while all this crap was going on, he's like, "Hey, you should put up your number one contender spot."
Oh gosh.
And his NQCC leaders like, "Yeah, that's a great idea." No. Um, just because someone's jealous, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
Um, so he did later agree, and this GM did come out confirm the match that it would be a number one contenders match to get the title of going up against Femi next week. But we'll get to that later because it's obviously not the wrestling. But also
Yep.
on top of that, during that whole spiel, the GM also agrees that Charlie Dempsey, the NQCC leader, had to wrestle Femi right after that. Which is a perfect segue into the first match of the night, which was between NXT champion Femi versus Charlie Dempsey. Both again, I NXT I haven't really watched, but obviously since starting this, I need to use these now. Um, Femi's huge.
Oh yeah. Woo!
Um,
He is massive.
his physique and his aura is amazing, but Charlie Dempsey also had some really good moments last night.
Yeah.
Showing that he can be a submission specialist.
Yeah.
There were moments going back and forth between Femi, but mainly giving Charlie his chance to get a push to show what he can do in the ring, especially as a champion. And obviously with that, he got his 5 minutes of I'm gonna do my stuff, and then Femi comes up with the win by doing a water wheel drop and then a nasty uppercut, then landing the fall from grace to beat
Yes. Yes, sir.
So that was again for me. That was a good match last night.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. And again, Dempsey, like the no quarter catch crew is very interesting because again, they are portraying them. I mean, and they are somewhat legitimate wrestlers, so of different styles and disciplines.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely is going to be interesting to see what path each one takes in their career. Because I mean, I could see Dempsey being another. And I hate to use this term, but like, I could see Dempsey maybe being more like a Kurt Angle. I
He's
would
on
also
the line with some of those specialists.
yeah, maybe even a Bret Hart style in the more submission style. So, like each guy definitely has a very unique future ahead of them. That's for sure.
100%. And obviously that was the first match of the night. Then it goes down to Wes Lee versus Tony D'Angelo.
Mm-hmm.
This all in all was an interesting match because Wes Lee was D'Angelo's play toy.
Yeah.
He was. Obviously, the way this was booked, Wes Lee did not look like he was going to win this match, obviously, because he was just being thrown out of the ring. He got a spear in the middle of his cardiac kick. There was no good moment for Wes in that match last night.
Yeah, he was ragdolled quite a bit.
The only reason that the outcome happens is near the end of the match, Stax appears on the Jumbotron standing in front of Rizzo's safe house, claiming he was there to visit her, and this caused the distraction for Wes Lee to finally hit the cardiac kick for the win over D'Angelo.
Hey.
There was one there was one minor cue that I didn't like on this. This match had a lot of weird camera spots.
Yeah, the camera angles were a little wonky in a couple spots.
The one being when cardiac flip or the cardiac kick connected with a spear. The camera angle didn't look that right. It didn't look like it hit all the way. It just didn't look too good.
Yeah, it definitely they cut at the wrong moment for that shot, and I was like, because they cut right to a shot of it where the angle was so bad it did not look like he. And the other thing is, honestly, I don't think it was just the camera angle. I think it was that D'Angelo didn't connect all the way with the spear. So it really was like, ooh, okay. But they could have. And again, it's hard. That's the only thing about live television like that. If something screws up, it's a one shot deal. Like you can't just go back and say, cut, we're gonna redo this.
Yeah.
So you know,
Yeah,
but
obviously you can't go in the middle of the commercial break when that happens and go, we need to redo that spot.
exactly.
But again,
So
this was a good match for Tony D'Angelo because he's showing that he can be on his own.
yep.
And he is another big dude. Um,
Yeah.
it's
I
good to see
am
that WWE is taking, especially Shawn Michaels, is taking interest in some of the more talented big dudes
yes, exactly.
like Obafemi and Tony D'Angelo. So,
My only thing is the D'Angelo family deal. Like I've kind of kept up with this for a little bit, not as often as I would want, but the thing with the D'Angelo family and the split and the break apart and stuff like that, what are they going to do with him now that the family isn't the family anymore? Because that was the gimmick, the mob
yeah.
family. So I hope they do something good with him and give him a good singles run. But the Don is can't be the Don without the family. So I'm kind
100%.
of I don't know what they're gonna
You know,
do,
that's
but we'll
like
see.
the OTC. You can't have the family when all of it breaks apart.
Yep, the whole the you can't
Um,
be a tribal chief if you don't have a tribe.
exactly. By yourself at a table. No one there. And then we move on to the next match, which is the number one contenders match that was set up by the GM. This match was more straight point, short and sweet. Uh,
Yeah.
to put, Miles Bourne on top,
Yep.
that push. Um,
And I give Ethan Page a lot of credit in the sense of like he really did a lot to help Miles show his style off, and to show that he will be a good number one contender, and it will be. I mean, again, it's going to be a completely different style when he goes up against Obafemi.
mhm.
But the more I see Miles Bourne, the more I'm intrigued, and a lot of that was. I mean, well, a lot of that's due to Miles' style itself, but the way Ethan helped sell that match was again, it just helped push him farther ahead in my mind.
And
So
again, being Ethan Page, being around in the indies to AEW to WWE, he knows how to work
yes,
and give those people that push. Um,
yep,
Obviously, I think he's still trying. I think Sean is still trying to figure out the footing for Ethan in NXT realm, and I think later on the attack on Ricky Starks would prove that he's going after the North American title at some point.
yeah.
So obviously, having the two AEW heads go against each other, I think could be good for them later on.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, Miles Bourne gets the win here by doing his Dropkick of Destiny against Ethan Page, and that would seal the deal for next week's Battleground Obafemi versus Miles Bourne.
Yep.
We had our first women's match.
Yes, sir.
Hill versus Tatum Paxley. Um, I don't know if I like Paxley or not. She was weird. Um, because obviously before this match was started, a little bit earlier in the night, she was attacking a dollhouse
yeah.
and just having issues, but that's whatever. Um, but again, actually, this match was really solid.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Thea Hale's showing herself. She's a really good women's wrestler. And Tatum, I don't know. Um, the match unfortunately ends in a disqualification, and Thea Hale will get it. But I mean, basically, Paxley wanted to try to rip Hale's eyes out.
yeah.
I I don't know. The match was great. Both, they were both very in tune to what they were doing. I mean, Hale's a really good submissions expert.
yes, very much so.
And I think that's what they're looking at with her, because obviously, ever since leaving Chase U, she's been kind of doing her own thing and kind of been in limbo. And I think we may have finally figured out that she could be a future person to not mess with.
Yeah, no, she's definitely one of the up and comers. Honestly, in the last several pay-per-views, even though it's the matches I've gotten wrong for the predictions challenge, I have picked her a couple times to win because I was like, she is definitely, she's another one of those up and coming stars that you look at like, you can see them going places with her. I could see her in the ring against Stephanie Vaquer or
Oh, yeah.
Julia or Jordan Grace. You
I
know,
would love to see a match with Jordan Grace and Thea Hale because Jordan Grace is brute,
yes.
and then you have Thea who's more calculating with the way she wants to do her submission moves and really targeting those specific joints and know where to attack.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, I'm definitely very high on Thea Hill. Tatum Paxley, like you said, interesting, but like I think she's got an interesting career ahead of her as well. I'm just not sure where they're gonna go with her.
Well,
Like
the
she,
funny thing is today during my research of, how to really kind of put this stuff together, the one thing that somebody wrote on one of the fan sites was that hopefully the way they're turning her Paxley into this could be the NXT women's version of Mankind.
oh,
I'm
that's
kind of here
interesting.
for it. I think it'd be cool. But
Hey,
again,
honestly, I could see that. That could be an interesting.
loses his
'Cause
best friends. Eh,
yeah, I mean, I that's a very interesting idea, and honestly, we've never, even like most of the women there have been a few horror gimmicks. I mean, we have
Obviously, we have Alexa Bliss right now with the Wyatt Six.
and also what's her name? The other one that's with the Wyatt Six. The other Irish or
Scottish.
Scottish. What's her name? I can't think of it.
That'll come to us later,
It'll
probably.
come to us later. But yeah, anyways, you got her, but like you never had that kind of mankind. Like I can see it working on a female character as well. I can see her like the craziness. Like man, if they brought back the idea of the boiler room brawl for somebody like that, like get them back in the boiler. I don't know. That could be
It
very
could be interesting, right?
yeah.
I thought about it. I was like, huh, that's quirky.
That's very quirky. I like that.
Um, and then obviously after that match, we cut to the TNA Championship contract signing between
Mm.
Joe Hendry and Trick Williams. Um, Hendry walked all over what Trick.
Yeah.
The
Oh yeah.
words that they sparred with each other. I wrote down some of the highlights from that. Hendry tells Williams to stop bitching. And my favorite quote from Hendry, uh, after Battleground, he'll know what it's like for his 15 minutes of fame to expire. And obviously both men signed the contract, and it's official. Next Saturday night, they will be taking on, it will be Trick Williams and Joe Hendry for the TNA Championship, which is the first time the TNA Championship has been put on the line in a WWE TV event.
Yeah. So you and I talked a little bit about this last night. But so like with this partnership, TNA and NXT, WWE NXT, at some point the belts are going to switch. Like a
Yeah.
TNA guy is going to hold the NXT belt, and an NXT guy is going to hold the TNA belt. It has to happen at some point. It may not be soon, it may not, but it has to happen because I feel like it's one of those things that, especially with the NXT belt going on a TNA guy, in my view, that's going to be the solidification of saying, you're our next guy when your contract is up there, you're coming up here, that kind of thing.
Well, and the thing that I thought about later, more like today when I was sitting up, looking at the card and stuff. This is where I hate to say it, WWE needs to look at how AEW did it with New Japan.
Okay.
They did Forbidden Door. It wasn't instant, but it was only a couple months until they started switching belts around in the company
Yeah.
and started using their champions on live TV, like we're seeing with Joe Hendry. They're slowly moving it towards that chance of actually having a TNA championship in a WWE ring, but it, they are kind of coasting right now.
Yeah.
High of Joe Hendry, which is fair.
Yeah.
Hendry's the most popular person right now out of TNA.
Mm-hmm.
And again, no matter where you go, the pop will be insane.
Yep. But
So,
I mean, I think, at some point in my, like, I was gonna ask you who you think your guy is from each company. Like, who do you think is the guy from TNA to take the NXT title and vice versa?
I don't know. There's a part of me that really, like, if Oba Femi loses the title, Obafemi gets TNA, but I don't know. It's interesting because Obafemi could be obviously the face of both.
Yeah.
Like I could see Joe Hendry being. So
Yes.
you want somebody to match the brand, and I think Obafemi really does match the brand. I don't think Trick is really the brand
Yeah.
TNA, whereas Joe Hendry right now for the last 2 years has been carrying TNA on his back,
Yeah. Yeah. Most
and I
definitely.
think Obafemi can do the same thing.
Yeah. There you go.
So,
I think my guy, at least from TNA, to take the NXT title would be Moose, who's the current X Division champion, which
mhm.
I still don't know how a guy that big is an X Division champion when that's usually the light heavyweight group. But, it is what it is. But I could definitely see Moose taking the NXT title. And the other thing I was thinking about today as I was working, I was like, the other thing that could happen at some point is we could have a dual champion. So they end up like it ends up being title for title
Oh
at
yeah, I
some
think that'd be
point.
great too.
So
Or like a
that,
ladder match, with the TNA belts hung up
yeah,
the ring. I mean, it's definitely there are options, but
yep,
obviously they're trying to build towards that moment where they do really take advantage of the TNA prospects, and hopefully at the same time doing the same with AAA when they get involved more.
yep, exactly.
But that brings us to our last match. Jordan Grace is in the main event after another main event last week, back to back weeks of Jordan Grace gracing us with her presence on main events. And yes, I meant to do that.
I figured.
But obviously, this is a different style. It's Stephanie Vaquer versus Fatal Influence,
Mm-hmm.
and Fatal Influence used to boost the morale of Grace and Vaquer. Um, they were just there. Uh, to be honest, obviously, Grace and Vaquer start jawing at each other because obviously they're fighting next week for the NXT Women's Division Championship, and obviously the Fatal Influence takes advantage of it, gets them off guard. Um, but after Vaquer surprises Jane with a head trap super kick, whole bunch of suplexes from Jordan Grace, so that's not shocking. Um, but there were so many good moments in this match, but obviously building up towards that later rivalry with Stephanie Vaquer and Jordan Grace
Yep.
next week's
Yeah.
Battleground.
Yep. That's going to be interesting. And I'm looking forward to it. I did enjoy this match a lot, especially when, she's not as muscular, but she definitely has Jordan Grace has the Brock Lesnar vibe when she's throwing suplexes.
Yeah,
And
no, 100%.
I was
Well, I
watching
wouldn't say Brock Lesnar. I would put her on the same realm as Chad Gable. Same build,
Okay,
same
there you go.
muscular stature, can throw them around like nobody's business, and that's what
Yeah,
Chad Gable does.
there you go. Yeah, no, that's for sure. Definitely more Chad
But
Gable
obviously,
style.
the winner of this match would be Jordan Grace and Stephanie Vaquer over Fatal Influence.
Yep.
And again, match was okay. I mean, I felt like it kind of ended on a flat note because
Yeah.
there really wasn't anything else. Obviously, last week's show ended great because these two were finally getting like the chance to see each other, wrestle. Jordan Grace dominated last Tuesday night's main event. So, um, yeah, I mean, the show in general was about a B.
Yeah, I'd say about a B minus or so. Yeah.
I
Again,
think we're around there.
yeah, they're not. So the thing with NXT is that they're not going to be um like it's like it's not an A plus show every week or even
Well, especially leading
but
up to a PLE.
yes, exactly.
You can't put
But
all
they
your chips
definitely
in the basket 1 week before or 2 weeks before, and then when you get to the PLE,
yes.
it's like this sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of how I felt with Mania is like a
Yeah,
lot
no,
of the
that's
buildup
true. They had
was
a lot of
good.
stuff going into Mania.
Yep. A lot of the buildup was good, but then all of a sudden, Mania itself just kind of it went into the toilet. So
Yeah.
it was like, but no, overall, again, yeah, and again, from the first 2 weeks that we've been watching, well, I mean, again, I've kind of kept an eye on
You've been
things, but
keeping up with it. I've been mainly on the Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. But since
yep.
picking up this, again, I'm very happy with the way Shawn Michaels is running NXT.
Yeah.
I've never
Again,
had
it
a.
definitely,
There's so many good moments.
yes, exactly. And there's so many talented people down there right now. Like that was the thing that I was worried about when they pulled guys like Braun Breaker and several of the others up to the main roster. I was like, okay, what do we still have left in NXT? Because you still have to have these people that are going to um like be pushing the developmental brand forward. Who do you have that can keep it going and bring up the next crop of
Yeah.
stars?
And I mean,
And
Stephanie McCurr has been a
yes,
great acquisition.
yeah.
Obafemi has been fantastic since Braun Breaker left.
I mean,
Wesley is lost in the sauce.
huh?
Don't know where Wesley's going.
Yeah, no.
Trick
And he
Williams, I
actually,
think right now he's still trying to find his identity because right now it sounds like they're kind of teasing him going between TNA and NXT.
yeah.
So, but
Well,
they've
and
replenished that talent so well.
yes, exactly. And the thing with Wes Lee is that I mean, a couple years ago, like we watched several of the NXT pay-per-views, and he was one of the top stars, and he kind of drifted off after a little while, and kind of got lost, like you said, got lost in the sauce. But now, he's kind of building himself back up to a main event level again. But we got Javon Evans, we've got, and I mean Ethan Page, like two of the best pickups.
I'm
Ethan Page,
so
Ricky
happy Ricky
Starks.
Starks is on WWE Network.
Yes,
Oh my
exactly.
God. I love
Like,
Ricky at AEW. Tony fumbled this one severely, but I'm so happy. Um, but obviously next week again the lead up should be good. Obviously
yep,
we'll be back next Wednesday night. Well, at
yep,
least following week. But we'll try to record a video for Battleground.
yes.
Um,
We're
I
gonna,
think
we're,
if I play my cards right, I might be able to get that pay-per-view on the TV in our hotel room.
ooh, okay.
Hey,
We'll
gonna
figure
have to
this
pay my
out.
cable.
There you go. Yeah.
So yeah, obviously we are happy to be back and happy to be covering NXT because obviously NXT is better. I'd rather watch that than the dumpster fire that is AEW.
Darn right.
Because
But
no,
yeah, no.
no Sheamus, no Sheamus.
No Seamus, no Seamus. But yes, next week we will be back with the go home show for NXT, and we next week we will review Battleground pay per view.
And obviously that's gonna be a lot longer than 30 minutes.
Yep, and we will give our predictions as to what we think is going to happen for Battleground. By the way, one thing we didn't quickly cover at the end was you kind of glossed over it, but Ethan Page attacks Ricky Starks at the very end of the
Right.
night.
I forgot about that. I'm sorry, you're right. I did cover it.
Yeah,
Ethan Page does attack Ricky Starks.
which
Yeah, the two AEW boys.
yep, which means in my view, I think we'll be getting a rematch of Stand and Deliver at Battleground, Ricky Starks versus Ethan Page for the NXT North American title.
Which I
So we
will
will
not
see
be
how.
mad at whatsoever.
Yep. So we will see how that shakes out. But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today on NXT Shakedown. We are so happy you guys are here. Wyatt's got. What do we decide we're going to call him? Jimbo.
Um, I like Jim.
Jim. Okay, there we go.
He'll be our
What?
mascot for the channel. Jim, the 3D printed spider.
Spider. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, why not?
But thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate it. Again, if you like the content you're seeing, go ahead and like and subscribe. Hit that thumbs up button on our channel. We would very much appreciate it. Yeah. Which way does it go? Yeah, but hit the thumbs up button, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications so that you can see when we go live. Sadly, we are not live today. This will be going up
Probably tomorrow night, maybe Friday.
yeah, probably tomorrow. It's, as they say in the business, it's live to tape. But we will when we go live get the notifications. As I said before, the Patreon, it's just $5 a month, guys. $5 a month, you can join us. You can get in on Rick's picks on for the regular pay-per-views, Wyatt and my picks for the NXT Battleground pay-per-views. You will you'll not be disappointed, and you get to have some fun. And like I said, Jason's our current champion right now. Jessie has got Jessie in the bank. She's holding that right now, so she has a chance to cash in at any point and take that belt off of Jason. It still stays in the same house because they're freaking married, But we got to find a way to get it off of either one of them, get it out of that house and get it on one of the rest of us. And you guys have the opportunity to get in on that. So like I said, $5 a month. Go to the link in our bio, find our Patreon. And by the way, Jason's been mentioning it. If you're on Apple and you go to our Patreon, Apple charges you a freaking $2.50 service fee. So get
That
on
sounds
an
all right for
Android.
Apple. That makes sense.
Yeah, go on Android. Go on Android or a computer, log into there, pay the $5 a month, and you'll be in good shape. But like I said, find us on all of our platforms. Like I said, we do our podcasts. If you don't want to watch the videos, watch this or listen to us on podcasts as you're driving down the road.
We're way better on audio than we are visually. Just
Yeah, sometimes we are.
a
Sometimes
bunch
we
of ugly
are.
dudes. It is what it is.
So, but on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on NXT Shakedown, and we will see you next time on The Hard Way.